Cruise news time. Well, some interesting cruise news stories today. We've got Hurricane Fiona wreaking havoc in the Atlantic Ocean, impacting cruises. We also have a story coming out of New York City talking about how maybe cruise ships could be used to house refugees. We have a statement from brand ambassador John Heald about fighting on Carnival cruise ships. And that leads us into an interesting topic for conversation. Should cruise lines require a background check? A background check to go on a cruise? Cruise news, in my views. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views. It is Tuesday, the 20th of September, 2022. And back here in the Lido Loca headquarters, the Triple L HQ, baby. Let me address the elephant in the room. Sometimes I don't wear my glasses when I'm having trouble with the lighting. Today is one of those days. I have a light just right up here, and when I wear my glasses, it casts a whole shadow on my face. So I really can't see anything, but I know that you all look beautiful out there. Sometimes when I change my hair, don't wear my glasses, people are like, what's going on? The world is changing. It's a shadow thing today. In the shallows, that's different. Okay, let's talk about cruise news. Story number one, Hurricane Fiona. Wow, it did some damage in Puerto Rico. One of my favorite cruise ports, San Juan, Puerto Rico. They got hit hard. Hurricane Fiona went through Puerto Rico on Sunday, knocking out most of its power. As of yesterday, as of Monday, power is slowly being restored. The extent of the damage on the island, not yet known. There's still going to be some challenges restoring communications. Unfortunately, there were a couple cruise ships that were supposed to make port stops in Puerto Rico that have been canceled. The MSC Seashore, supposed to make port there in San Juan, and also the Carnival Mardi Gras. Those ports have either been rescheduled or canceled, but they will not be able to go to Puerto Rico right now. Fiona left Puerto Rico, now making its way in a northern trajectory, kind of targeting Bermuda, going up the eastern coast of the United States. There's some question as to whether or not cruises that are going to Bermuda later in the week will be impacted, but certainly all of the cruise lines are keeping an eye on it. One cruise for sure got rerouted, the Harmony of the Seas. They were going to do an Eastern Caribbean cruise. Instead of doing that itinerary, they're doing a Western Caribbean cruise. So they flip-flopped their whole itinerary to stay out of the path of Fiona. Cruise news story number two, and I didn't really tease this one, there's another cruise ship that is having to switch itineraries, this time not for a storm, but for mechanical issues. Passengers booked on the Carnival Vista received emails saying that because of issues with propulsion, engine issues, that their itineraries would be impacted. And this is for like 6 cruises that extends into 2023. The ship's 2022 departures on October the 15th, October the 29th, and October the 12th are impacted, as well as departures on January the 21st, February the 4th, and February the 18th. So it looks like this is going to be a phased repair of the engine, but those cruises will not be able to go up to its maximum cruising speed, and therefore they will have to alter the itineraries. Certainly a bummer, certainly a reality in cruising, both with the hurricane story and this mechanical issue story, that you don't always get what you think you're going to get in cruising, that when you book a cruise, you have to be a little open-minded, open-ended, that the itinerary that's been presented to you could be impacted by a variety of things, including nature and mechanical issues. Let me throw it over to you. Were you impacted by either Fiona or this mechanical issue on the Vista? I would love to hear about that. Leave a comment below. Cruise news story number 3. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is considering using cruise ships to house migrants that are arriving to the city. Over the last few months, around 11,000 migrants from different parts of this country and other countries arriving to the city looking for temporary shelter, and the mayor there thinks that maybe a cruise ship would be a good option. We have seen cruise ships used this way in emergencies. We've seen housing for folks that have been displaced from a storm. We've also seen it in the war of Russia and Ukraine, where Ukrainian refugees housed in the Netherlands on a cruise ship, a Holland America ship. This is an interesting scenario, though, and it's caused some pushback in the city. There is a fear that if migrants are housed on cruise ships, they would not have access to transportation, to schooling, to other services that may be essential for them finding a place to stay in the United States. There's no talk of which cruise line may be in conversation with the mayor, if any of them. This could just be an idea that the mayor is bandying around. To me, it is an interesting idea, and it does show the diversity of the uses for cruise ships. Me personally, if there are cruise lines that are in full swing right now, getting all of their cruise ships back into full service, and they're filling them up with passengers, I think they would be hard-pressed to charter out a cruise ship to the city, unless it's like an offer they can't refuse. If it's a really good reoccurring deal, I could see that happening, but we'll continue to watch it. It's an interesting solution to a challenging problem with advocates on both sides, for and against. We'll see if anything comes of it. How about that? Now let's swing back to a conversation we were having yesterday about fights on cruise ships. During that show, I talked about I hadn't seen anything official from Carnival based on the latest fisticuffs that happened on one of their ships. There was an interesting missive sent out to John Heald. I don't know that they were talking about me, but I will read that to you, and I will read you John's response. And then I also want to talk about some of the things that you said in the comments yesterday, including the proposal of a background check for cruisers, whether that would be viable. But before we get to those conversations, you know what's going to happen. Let me quickly invite you to subscribe. If you'd like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. I said yesterday that we're trying to get to 200,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And somebody said, well, what about the big dream goal? Have you given up on the dream? No, I've not given up on the dream goal. Can we not have short-term goals on our way to the big goal? What are we trying to get to, people? 18 million subscribers. Will you be a part of that number? I am a boy with a dream. Look, competitively, I'll say it. I watch with loving affection our friend Gary Bembridge at Tips for Travelers. I've only talked to Gary virtually. I've never talked to him face to face. I've never heard his voice other than on the YouTubes like the rest of you. But I like him, and I think that we would get along well. And I can't wait till we collaborate. But let's put all that aside. Let's just say that it would be nice to catch Gary Bembridge in the subscriber count. We could say that. There's nothing wrong with a little healthy competition. And so not only would I like to get 200,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but I would also like to get 100 and something thousand more subscribers and overtake Tips for Travelers as the most subscribed cruise tube channel in our little niche. There's bigger travel channels. I'm not delusional. Maybe I am delusional. And then, beyond that, if we're going to rule the world, we got to get to 18 million subscribers. That's a whole digression about subscribers that's really tongue-in-cheek. Don't take it too seriously. Don't be out on the interwebs going, that Tony, he's coming after Gary. Gary knows what the deal is. Don't you, Gary? You know. I don't even think Gary watches this. Just a quick programming reminder. Tonight we do have the cruise live stream. It's our live show that we do when we're at home on Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. Join us with your cruise questions. We'll be talking about our upcoming cruise on Holland America. And also, if you're a member of our Patreon group, we do an exclusive live stream just for patrons. That happens at 8 p.m. on Tuesdays. We do at least one of those a month. So if you want to contribute to the cause, $5, you can see at least one additional live stream. Sometimes it's more. If we're home every week, we have a live stream every week. So if you want to check that out, www.patreon.com/LaLidoLoca. But of course, the big show, 9 p.m. tonight. Come hit us with your cruise questions. We'll see you then. All right. Let's talk about fight night. Let me say this first. Because listen to me, please. If you haven't listened to the rest of the show, stop doing what you're doing and listen to me. If you hear about somebody going overboard on a cruise ship, and if you hear about a fight on a cruise ship or see a video of a fight on a cruise ship, that is a rare occurrence. It is an outlier. If it happened every day, we would not talk about it. The reason that we talk about it is because, wow, that is rare. And so if you see a story about somebody going overboard and you say, wow, on every cruise somebody is going overboard, you are wrong. If you see a story about a fight on a cruise ship and you think, wow, there must be fighting on every cruise ship, then you are wrong. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of cruises that occur without incident. I have been on 34, 35 cruises now. I've never seen a fight on a cruise ship. I've been on 7 or 8 Carnival cruises. I have never seen a fight on a cruise ship. So if you're out there publicly spouting that Carnival is the fighting cruise line, then you are wrong. There are fights. We do talk about them, but the reason that we talk about them is because they are rare. So if you're somebody out there new to cruising and you're worried that if you're going to go on this cruise line or that cruise line, that it may mean that you're going to see a fight, the odds of that are slim. Let me say that first. And secondly, let me just go into this. I said in the show yesterday that there was an announcement previously from Carnival that said people that are involved in these kind of activities possibly could be disembarked at the next port, possibly could be banned from cruising on Carnival Cruise Line. And I said that I had not seen any official statements about any of these fights where that has occurred. Now, let's be realistic. Is Carnival going to publish, we banned Joe Blow from the cruise because he got into a fight? Certainly, that's not going to happen. So the idea that the general public, like ourselves, would hear about these bannings or these suspensions, it's not reasonable also. But somebody took to social media yesterday and wrote our friend John Heald and called him out for fighting on cruise ships. And they mentioned a cruise tuber. I don't know that it's me. I wasn't mentioned by name, but I will read this to you because it does have a response from John Heald, what Carnival is doing when it comes to fighting. Let me get the missive. Hold on. This comes directly. It makes me miss my grandmother who passed away. She used to say directly. We're going somewhere directly. This comes directly from John Heald's Facebook page. And this thing is chock full of, I don't even want to read the top part, but it's interesting. Name is C, somebody whose first name was C. Message, my husband and me have noticed you have been hiding behind the death of England's Queen and ignoring the elephant in the room. Why would you think Americans care so deeply, John? After all, we were taught in school that we broke away from your lot in 1776. What then about the fight on the Sunshine Ship? No words of explanation from you. Ignore it, John, but this will come back and bite Carnival in the asterisks. Read what blank, the famous cruise YouTuber, is saying that Carnival is doing nothing. Stop hiding. Get your head out of your own asterisks and tell us cruisers what's going on. I don't know how this guy does it. Like, it's so funny. Like, oh, hey, obviously the world cares about the Queen. Like, it's on every channel. It's so funny. There's nothing wrong, I don't think, with being patriotic, but being patriotic at the expense or without the empathy of what's going on in the rest of the world, it's mind-numbing to me. Okay, that's an aside. That could be a whole nother conversation. But here's his response. Thank you, C, and thank you for taking the time to write, and I hope we see you and your husband sailing with us very soon, as I know you will have a brilliant time. So I have indeed addressed this before and answered the many questions I have been asked over on the visitor post, and respectfully, I was not hiding behind the sad passing of the Queen, Queen Elizabeth. I have not watched this famous YouTube chap, but thank you, C, for allowing me a chance to respond again. These physical altercations happen quickly and without warning. They happen on land, in theme parks, shopping malls, and streets. They have also happened rarely, and yes, rarely on ships as well. It is important to understand that these physical arguments are not tolerated. They will never be tolerated by Carnival. Anyone in a physical confrontation will have security intervene. They will be removed and placed under guard until the next port of call and disembark there. They will have to pay for their own flight home. If the situation warrants, they are handed over to local law enforcement, and they will be banned for life from cruising ever again. Thank goodness these incidents are very, very rare indeed, and thank goodness that 99.99% of the 90,000 or so of people who cruise with us are there to have a brilliant time with friends and family and to have fun. Cheers. I have trouble sometimes with John's post, wondering if the original poster was sincere, if they're trolling, honestly hassling the guy about his affinity for the Queen of his country who served for 70 years in the light of all of us is a weird approach. But I do appreciate the fact that he addressed the fighting, and he says very clearly there that if you're a part of a fight, you will be disembarked and you'll have to get home on your own dime. So don't fight on a cruise ship is, of course, the message that we should already know. But the challenge that I put forth in the video yesterday, and I asked for some solutions, How do we prevent the aggression in the first place? And honestly, the comments yesterday show you how complicated the answer to this question is, because there were very few responses that were any kind of viable way to prevent fighting in the first place. I would call out the increase in security, right? Security in places where fights happen. We've seen these fights happen in the pool deck. We've seen these fights happen in the nightclub. Maybe it is time to do a little bit of a show of force, not in an intimidating way, but in a way where you know that there's going to be somebody there to quickly intervene if you get out of line. That could be a solution, to identify the hotspots and then beef up the security there. So yeah, beef up security. I think that's a way to go. Another interesting suggestion yesterday, and this was just a suggestion, caveat on the front end, pay attention, I'm going to say something. No cruise line is advocating for this or suggesting this. So what we're about to talk about, please don't go out there and say somebody said that XYZ cruise line is requiring this. This is just a conversation for the community. Someone suggested yesterday that people should have to have a background check before cruising. And ideally, the background check would check for violent criminal convictions. So if you had somebody that was convicted of a violent crime, an assault, a battery, I don't know the difference between those two, but both of them sound violent. Let's just say violent. If you've been convicted of a violent crime, then maybe you should not be able to get on the cruise ship. That may help ward out aggression, but I doubt that most people that are in the fisticuffs or in the moment on the pool deck fight, I doubt that they got some sort of violent criminal record. So I don't know that that would really help a lot. And another challenge is I cannot imagine a cruise line first requiring a background check, but secondly, paying for a background check. Background checks are not cheap. They cost hundreds of dollars. Jenny used to work in property management, and they would do background checks on people, and I believe those cost like $200 or $300. I don't know for sure, but I know it was in the multi-$100s. But let's say it's not expensive. Let's say it's $20 per person, and a cruise line has 3,000 passengers on every cruise. They're going to have to spend $60,000 extra dollars a cruise for a background check. Nobody's going to do that. So they would push the cost off to the consumer. If they required a background check, it would be the cruiser that has to pay for it. And we saw how we reacted to testing. Nobody's going to want to go on their vacation and pay for a background check before they go on their vacation. So I understand the sentiment of that idea. I just don't think that a background check would be viable. And so we're back to, what do we do to prevent these altercations on the cruise ship? And again, do you even worry about it, right? In business, we talk about the 80-20 rule. And what that means is that the bulk of things that are going on, that's the 80%. The outliers are the 20%. You set up your processes, you set up the way your structures for the 80%, and then you try to manage the 20%. And so maybe the managing the 20% is the reactionary kicking people off of cruise ships. Does it make sense to beef up security for instances that don't happen very often? If the security is keeping, everything copacetic right now except for a few outlier incidents, should you spend that extra money on security or should you just react to it? It's a complicated thing. Obviously, nobody wants their vacation interrupted by a fight. Again, I'll say it as I said it earlier, the odds of that happening are minimal. Have you seen a fight on a cruise ship? Please answer this one. Yes, I have seen a fight. No, I have not seen a fight on a cruise ship. If you could just put those few words in the comments. Interesting conversations today. Time for you to sound off. What do you think about any and all of it? Boom! That is the cruise news and my views. Thank you for watching the show. I sure appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do me a solid and hit the like button. And look, if you can't do that, then you're going to have to face the wrath. Face the wrath of Con. The wrath of Tone. All right. I'm stalling because I can't think of a good punishment because I love you guys so much. If you do not hit the like button, I will be forced to punish you, and your punishment will be this, that instead of hiring extra security on a cruise ship, part of your cruise experience is everybody will have to partake and be a part of the community watch, and during one of your sea days, you'll have to do 4 hours in a yellow shirt that says security, and you'll have to keep the peace on the Lido. The Lido. How about that? You can avoid all that. You can get out of your community watch service on the cruise ship by hitting the like button. This is Tony for Lido, Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Stop fighting. Bye.